Welcome to Overtime on Inferno, your weekly roundup of all the big stories in CSGO, quicker than the disbandment of Hyenas. A quick reminder to rate and review us at the end of the episode, it really helps us. I'm Logan, this is Aizyesque. On today's pod, we talk about the group stage of Cologne, plains of Cologne. We talk about Kirby's retirement, we talk about Zonic maybe looking at new teams to coach, and we talk about Fnatic kicking Golden and what their possibilities are in the near future. Roll the intro. What's been up in your life lately?
It's coming home. It's coming home. That's what's happening.
That's got to be one of my favorite sports chants. I don't follow football at all, but just hearing people that I know and other Brits that I know just randomly tell me it's coming home in the last 2 weeks.
It is. It's coming home. It's that's really what's going on in the last week. We're recording this a day later. We're recording it on Wednesday. So this is the day that England will make the Euro 2020 final. Gonna regret saying that. And it's coming home. So that's really the big thing that's happening in my life. I've been a little bit busy. Yesterday we were supposed to record, but I ended up being in some press conferences for the three big CIS teams pre-IEM Cologne, so that was kind of interesting.
All right. I had something to ask about the "it's coming home" thing. Oh, did you see the tweet that Pimp put out that was to Carmack that was hey, I know we don't do a rolling schedule anymore, but if today we could do a rolling schedule so we can watch England Denmark, that would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, I probably shouldn't say this because it's a Counter-Strike podcast, but I will probably just not watch a little bit of IEM Cologne so I can watch England-Denmark. Because
it's just the play.
And it doesn't come home often, famously. So you gotta be patriotic.
So we have two topics today. We have Cologne and then not Cologne. That's how today's show is going to be split into. Let's start with the Cologne part.
Yeah.
Play-ins are happening right now, and then the rest of Cologne happens.
Yeah,
it's some of this week.
There's so much CS, man. It's every day, or whenever you turn on your computer, there's 3 streams going on. It's amazing.
It's fantastic. Group stages end this weekend, and then we got playoffs next weekend. So you'll get a group stage roundup from us next Tuesday. But today we're going to talk about what's happened so far in play-ins and what we think is going to happen in group stages.
Yeah.
That's how you pick up 7 times. So.
I think let's start with the bad, and then we'll move on to the good, and then we'll finish with the ugly.
I like that. Yep.
Bad news bears. Not good.
Not good.
I was rooting for these guys because, it's pretty fun, but it's not very fun when they just get destroyed every game. It's really as simple as that. They lost their first map to Mouse Sports, which fair enough. A lot of teams lose to Mouse Sports, but then they got 2-0'd by LDLC, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, they got 2-0'd by LDLC, 16-9 and 16-6.
Yeah,
and no one showed up. When Sheikh Zula is your highest rated player in the match, there's a problem.
Yeah, that's not a good sign. He went 27-18 on Mirage. I don't think I've ever seen Sheikh Zula get 100 ADR.
Yeah, as people very well know, we are big Sheikh Zula and Bad News Bears fans here, but that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's it'd be like if MSL was your MVP for an event or something. It's just not. It's not realistic.
All right, let's talk about the other teams that lost the first round. We'll do the teams that won. So LDLC, as we just said, lost to NIP. Went on 2-0'd Bad News Bears. Played later today. Well, you'll know what it is because it'll be after the podcast goes up. But before the podcast, I don't know. All right. Mouse Sports.
If you don't know, what chance does anyone else have?
It was up at noon. I just don't know how to do time, man. Mass Sports beat Bad News Bears 16-7 today, yesterday, and that's good
That
for
is
Mass
good.
Sports because they're looking really good recently.
Until they played NIP, but
Well,
we'll
yeah,
get on to that.
yeah. Spirit beat MIBR in a was that single overtime game, double overtime game? I believe it was
I
double overtime.
think it was double overtime. Spirit were down 15-11 in regulation, took it to overtime. I think they were then down 18-15 and won 7 rounds in a row and won the game.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, MIBR had so many chances to win that game. I mean, obviously, they just they actually looked better than I thought they would, and then were just like choking like all the time, just constantly, just losing rounds they shouldn't do, and then ending up like losing maps that they just shouldn't do. I'm fairly sure they had a big lead against Renegades as well on the first map, and or they at least had some match points, threw it away, lost in overtime, and then lost the second map 16-14. Like they actually looked relatively solid. They just were
They didn't
losing the
look like an
close
academy
games.
team.
Yeah, I mean they probably should have beaten Spirit in the best of one, but Dexter's too strong, bro.
That's just too strong. Um, we got the Renegades lost to Vitality. I think to literally no one's surprise. They're the team
Yeah,
that they did not get a win in Pro League when they were here for that. So the hope is that they do better. And spoiler alert, they have done better so far than they have done in Pro League.
yeah, they
Um,
beat MIBR.
yeah,
So I mean, I'm not sure whether that is necessarily better than just losing every game.
I mean that's two win. That's a win on the board versus a not win.
I think losing to Vitality is still more impressive than beating MIBR.
I guess so. I mean, technically they're 1-1 right now. I think that's what you got to go with. They're
Yeah,
technically even.
Renegades, I think, are often not necessarily underrated because when they come here, it's like they don't actually do that well. But I think if they spent some time in EU like consistently for a year, I think they would actually be a pretty solid team.
Yeah, I
But they
think
they
Renegades too.
destroy the Australian region, and those players aren't like they're not terrible.
No.
But they play
Um,
Renegades. Sorry, they play OG in
they
a best of
do,
three today, which is
which
kind of interesting.
that should be a good match.
I hope
Uh,
it's not a stomp because OG didn't look great against Big, and this is actually a decent chance for Renegades to beat a European team. I think.
so speaking of OG, they played Team One yesterday with our guy
Yeah.
Malbs.
Although we
They
don't mention this game, all right? Like
this game didn't exist.
he just had
Team
an
One,
unlucky game. It just happens, you know.
Team One lost. Maluk had a nice .26 rating on the board.
That's also a really bad sign for Team One because Maluke is like quite an important piece for them. He's their like in-game leader and AWP, if I remember rightly. He's like the most experienced player. He's the one that when you're on LAN, you like want to look to Maluke and be like, "Yo, this is that guy. He's done it. He's been here. He's if he's having a bad game, it's a bad sign, in my opinion."
Yeah, and obviously that's not working out.
Yeah,
Well, at least
as we're
today it didn't
recording
work
this, they're
out.
currently playing Sprout on 1-0 up. So
We'll see.
maybe I mean we've been quite we talked about Sprout before. They lost their opening game against Big. So we talked about Sprout before and how I just hate seeing them at these events because they never seem to have any like they don't ever seem to have upset potential. They never seem to upset anyone good. We know exactly how good Spiddy and Dennis are. The only redeeming factor about them is watching Faven play, or Faven, I think he's actually said. And even that just isn't worth watching Sprout for a lot of the time. And I just hope they change something. I believe Alternate Attacks announced they're disbanding their roster today, so it might be worth them looking at that team, picking up some of the players from there. But just please stop Sprout coming to these events and just staking the place out. It's really annoying.
Just it's taking up a spot that another North American roster could have taken. Wait, no, never mind. There's no more North American
It's
rosters.
taking up a spot that hang on, we'll get to that.
All right. Evil Geniuses faced FaZe, and FaZe won, which
Yeah.
I sound really surprised by that, but like it's also EG, so I'm not sure how surprised we should be by that. FaZe is its own story that we're gonna have to talk about in a little bit, but
So the thing with FaZe is, I think a lot of the players are actually expecting FaZe to do well. I think in the press conference, I think it was one of the Gambit players said they were expecting a really high level from FaZe. It might have been Nafany. So there seems to be this sort of idea that FaZe are a lot better than they've shown, which isn't wholly unsurprising given the level of the players they have. I mean, Twists is still an absolute monster.
yeah,
Um, so maybe in scrims and stuff they've looked really good. I wonder if that's the case or if it's just people banking on their names showing up on LAN. Um,
yeah.
I don't
I
know.
heard that same thing from. I didn't hear the same thing from a Gambit player. I was watching the broadcast and I heard that I don't remember who said it, but somebody was saying basically that Carrigan thought that they were going to do really well this event based on how scrims and stuff worked. That they thought that they were going to be up there.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean I mean so far they look pretty solid. You say they beat EG and then they ended up beating Complexity 2-0 in a decided game and uh, look, beating EG in Complexity in and of itself isn't incredible. Complexity have had their own issues, and Lord knows EG have too. But it's a really good sign that they have yet to drop a map. If you're a FaZe fan, it's a really good sign because those were games that even if they were winning previously, they weren't winning them cleanly, and they've won them cleanly so far. So
And I'd like to say we're jumping a little. I guess we're jumping a little bit ahead, but that's whatever. Phase beating complexity. It was on a very pug map with Dust 2, right? The most
mhm.
puggy map that we have in the pool right now, and the most tactical map we have in the pool on Nuke.
Yep.
So, kind of showing that it's not just taking aim duels the entire time, right? Which is kind of what you expect from like a phase kind of team is taking aim duels 1,000% of the time and just hoping to hell you win them.
I will say Complexity nearly always just play pug maps as well. Like their home map is Mirage. Like that.
Yeah,
Any
yes,
team where your
but
home map is Mirage, I think says a lot about you.
isn't Nip's home map Mirage?
I'm not sure because Device doesn't usually play it, but maybe it is.
I'm pretty sure it is, and
I would
Device
have
just
thought it would
straight
be
up using it.
Overpass given you have Device and Res, but
Oh, all right.
Res is phenomenal at Overpass. I know they wouldn't have played against Mousebots. Mousebots traditionally always ban Overpass, I think. So that might be why.
Yeah. Looks
I would
kind
have
of funny.
assumed NIP zone
Ah,
that was Overpass.
we'll figure it out another time. Complexity beat Vici, who's here from the Asia qualifier. Um,
Yeah, I I don't know. Uh, I want Vici to do well. I always like back the Asian team because I like underdogs and I like watching the way they play Counter Strike. But it's impossible to have faith in them. And I mean, they looked okay against Complexity, and I'm sure they're going to look okay as they lose to EG. But they're going to
yeah,
lose,
yeah.
unfortunately.
All right,
I like Jam Young
let's.
though. He's a good player. He's somebody you should look at. Was Jam Young? He's a good player.
I
Not
believe
very Asian player.
Kays has been on this team
Hell
for a
yeah.
long time.
Yeah, Kays was when Vici had that like there was like that period of time where Vici were like kind of good and they were doing well at
Yeah,
the major or something. And it was like people loved Kays.
it's a weird time, man.
It's coming back.
All
It's
right,
coming home.
let's talk about the people who won in the upper bracket because it's technically an upper bracket. Yeah, let me put the people that won. Let's go through the four games of people that qualified directly into Cologne. You know, three ways you can qualify into Cologne. You can either win two, you could win one, lose your second game, and then win in lower bracket, or you could lose opening round and then win two in lower bracket.
They
Basically, you
just
have
win
to
two
either
games, forehead.
yeah, win two games before you lose two games.
Yeah,
It's kind of where we're at.
smart.
Um, yeah, win two games before you lose two games. So, people that have made it through so far, Nip beat Mouse Sports 2-0, which
Yeah.
was a very good game, as per what you said. I was not able to watch.
So I watched part of it. Nip were dominant on Mirage, which is strange because it was Mousesport's pick, and they're usually pretty solid on that map. But I think if I remember right, yeah, I felt like Dexter was really struggling in that game. Dexter's odd in that he's the in-game leader, so you don't expect him to be the top fragger, but he sort of came over with the reputation of being a solid fragger, and I think at this level he really does struggle to put up numbers. Um, that's fine. Like, it's not necessarily an issue. But you have Rops and you have Frozen and you have Beamus. That you shouldn't really need to get too many frags. But I also think, looking back at the numbers now, Frozen really struggled, which you probably can't deal with if you're Mouse. Frozen's pretty important to them, and if he has a bad game, you're gonna lose. I'm not 100% sure if it was like he just kept walking into a scope or something, because that can happen. Like, devices shut down simple. He shut down good players previously, so maybe it was a case of that. But NIP, yeah, I mean, they were never really in any danger of losing either of these maps. I didn't feel like they felt very comfortable. Yeah, they're looking pretty scary actually.
Yeah, we were saying for a while that IP needs to do some moves, and I'm still not sure that we're off of that. But on the other hand, NIP are really scary. Like, it's kind of it's not a fun time to be a fan of whoever team NIP is playing. The device move has, and we said this when it happened, but I'm gonna say it again. The device move has instantly upgraded this team a hell of a lot, and they are reaping the rewards of that upgrade.
So far, I mean,
So far.
I mean, it does. They haven't yet got really. I think they got to a final, right? But they've not won an event yet, and they need to consistently get far before you think, okay, it was worth spending $1 million on one player.
Yeah, I'm not even worrying about the $1 million yet. I'm just saying in a secluded world.
Oh yeah, I mean, they look much better, definitely.
Yeah. All right, Spirit and Vitality happened.
That was a banger. The reason I didn't watch too much of NIP Mouse was I was more concentrating on that game. That was a banger game. It was Spirit they really should have won. They had obviously won Dust 2 and they had like a pretty decent lead on Mirage. And they were just like, Nuke was more. It always felt like Vitality were going to win that after like about 8 rounds. That they just looked like they were more comfortable on Nuke. That their rotations were better. They were punishing. They were punishing Spirits like the holes in their defense. And if they got a pick, Spirit had no idea how to deal with Vitality. 4v5, like their rotations were just not as clean. But Mirage was very winnable for Spirit, and that probably it was very close to a 2-0 Spirit. But once you got to Nuke, Vitality were yeah, I mean, pretty much locked in. Masuta though looked absolutely unbelievable.
The guy just
Jesus
apparently
Christ,
knows how to
so
play
good.
on LAN.
On Nuke at least. He had like multiple. He won a 1v3 that was disgusting. He had like this, and then like followed it up with like a 4K a few rounds later that was just like completely changed the round. He looked so nasty on Nuke. He took a little while to warm into this game, but he looked nasty, man. He was keeping up with ZywOo at least on that map. I mean, ZywOo ended up as the top fragger as he so often does, but like Masuta looked really good, and that immediately makes Vitality a hell of a lot scarier to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, they were same thing with the Renegades game that Vitality won. Masuta had a 1.72 rating, which was just below ZywOo's 1.79.
Yeah,
like if Masuta started showing this form like a month ago, right, and he's kind of kept up this form. If he continues to even more keep up this form, it's Vitality's starting to look scary again. If that's the case,
the kid is absolutely cracked. Like it's taken a little while for him to get used to it, and then it's like a eureka moment. I don't know. And development of players is never linear, right? There's never like a linear progression. Yeah. You keep getting better like this. It's always in like stairs. Like it's always a spurt and then a plateau. And it seems like he's just hit like a giant peak. And if he can plateau from here, he will be some fucking player. The guy is absolutely correct. I mean, mechanically, he's phenomenal. And it seems like somebody is or he's come to some sort of realization about how he can use that. And he just looks like a completely different player. He looks so good.
All right, OG and Big, a team of a tale of two teams that seem to constantly disappoint us.
I just feel so bad for Valde. I he had this on North at times where he would just go absolutely wild and his team just would somehow not win. I don't know if he's cursed or what,
It's
but
probably a curse. He
he
plays
did
pretty
not
good.
fucking deserve to lose this game, much less lose it to. The second map in one overtime, he went 40-20, not in one over, as in like the map plus one overtime. He went 40-20, and they lost the map.
Yeah.
How can you like after that game? How can you go into like the demo review and actually have to listen to your teammates talk about how you lost that game? That you just go, I'm not coming to demo review tomorrow. You guys can work out how we lost because I did not do anything fucking wrong. And that you would just go, I am not coming to the demo review. I don't care. I cannot listen to how we lost this map because it was nothing to do with me.
Yeah, it wasn't my fault.
It was nothing to do with me that we lost that game. I'm not coming. How could you look him in the eyes and go, no, sorry, Valdi, we lose as a team? How could you look him in the eyes and be like, yeah, no, I can't. Like, we lost that game. Like, you would just not. I always wouldn't be able to look at him. I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I'm ashamed. He dropped 40 kills, man.
There's so
He
many.
lost.
I know. That's ridiculous. All right.
He's so good, man.
FaZe, the 2-0 complexity, which was like, we talked about this for a minute, right? And
Yeah.
we'll talk about it again. It's just.
I think we should talk about it from the complexity point of view because we
Alright.
talked about it from FaZe, and I don't get. I don't understand how this team isn't really good, and I don't know, how you fix it because it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with that roster.
Yeah,
Like maybe you go for a coaching change or something. Maybe you get Zonic. He's available now, apparently.
Complexity's so weird. So weird.
Yep.
I'm gonna say it's so weird.
Yeah.
Like
they shouldn't be losing games like that 2-0. Like they should be a team who can beat anyone and like lose to anyone. That's how they should be in my head. They should be a really up and down team, but it seems to just lose to teams that they should lose to and just beat teams they should beat. They seem a little bit flat track bully rather than wild roller coaster. And it feels like there should be a roller coaster. I guess that's why it's confusing. They seem to have found a relatively consistent level, but it feels like they shouldn't be consistent, and I think they'd be better off being inconsistent.
Yeah, I agree with literally all of that. Actually, I feel like the biggest problem with this is I feel like they should have taken a map off of FaZe.
Yeah, it feels like they should be able to take a map off pretty much anyone.
Yeah, but especially when you're like in this situation, right? When you play FaZe on Dust 2 and then you play FaZe on Nuke, you should be able to take one of those. There's no reason not to take one of those.
Yeah, you should be able to either outfrag or outmaneuver for FaZe, and you have the two maps where you can sort of do that. I mean, Complexity are a team who pick Mirage as their main map, which again, as we mentioned, it should tell you something about them. And I think I don't know. I don't really know what to say about Complexity. This team is kind of disappointing. They just seem like they're going to permanently be the 12th best team in the world, and it's like, but I don't understand. You have so much talent. They should be. I don't know. It feels like the pieces are there to be the top 5, and I don't really know how you fix it. I mean, maybe some of the issue is you have an in-game leader who calls around himself.
Yeah,
which
and that's
is
not
fine.
a knock on Blaine.
No, it's not a knock on him, but like when you have a super team like that and you call around the in-game leader, it feels a little bit strange. Like most sort of super teams, as it were, call around the fact that they're a super team. Yeah, they'd be a little bit less structured and just say, config or poison, go do what you want, because. But then at the same rate, you might not get the best of Rush doing that. But it's, do you want the best of Rush or the best of config? I mean, I know what I would want, but.
If you're a North American fan in 2018, you want the best of Rush.
Oh, I like Rush. I think Rush is very good.
I agree.
Seems like
yeah.
It seems like if it becomes a point of he's conflicting with what the other players, or with how you would necessarily get the best of the other players, then maybe you change that. But there's no reason a team with this level of Rush is their worst player.
Yeah.
That alone should tell you how stacked this team is.
Mhm.
Because a team with Rush as their fourth player won the major.
Yeah.
Probably fourth. Maybe he was their worst player. Depends how you sort of rate Skadoodle, I suppose.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's where I was
that's a
going.
tangent for another day. This team is insanely talented, but they don't even seem to win the pug maps against good teams. They should be able to win the pug maps against everyone, and they just don't. And it's
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. All right, and then so last 4 matches we got to talk about today. Lower bracket matches that are happening / have happened. So LDLC beat Bad News Bears 2-0. That happened, and MIBR lost to Renegades 2-0.
So LDLC really go under the radar in that I didn't even realize they were at this play-in until they beat Bad News Bears. But this team is solid. I mean, they got a lot of players you've probably heard of, without necessarily like. This is probably the third best team in France. I mean, there's maybe Double Pony.
Wait, what was the second best team?
Oh yeah, I always forget G2 aren't actually French anymore. They've only got the two French players.
And
So
Envious
they're probably the second best team in France, which
Not that
traditionally would
that's
have
like
been. Yeah, traditionally would have been like top 10 team in the world, but nowadays it's kind of an insult. But LDLC, yeah, I mean they convincingly beat Bad News Bears, like 69-16-6. Like that's pretty comfortable. That's like a 3 or 4-0 victory. You know, that's pretty. Never really in doubt of losing either of those maps. I'm kind of interested to see how good LDLC are and whether or not, because if they get smashed in the next round, you go like, oh, okay, Bad News Bears really, yeah, they're really not great. I mean,
yeah.
It's kind of like they're a team without an org made up of bits and pieces of players who got cut from other teams in NA. Like, you're not necessarily expecting them to be amazing. Like, it's not a slight on them to say, you know, oh, they're not as good as the best teams in Europe, like, obviously. But if LDLC, say if LDLC go and win their next game, they're playing Complexity. Say they beat Complexity, you suddenly feel like less bad about Bad News Bears. Like, well, okay, LDLC are actually really solid, and we've seen LDLC have these sort of games where they just pop up. Like, I've seen Maka play before, and I think Maka's really good. I used to be called Maka Zin, I think. He's really solid. So, like, I'm kind of interested if this team is actually any good. I kind of like want them to beat Complexity so we can see a little bit more of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of players on this team who you've definitely heard of. I mean, you've definitely heard of Sixer, like,
and Haji.
You've definitely heard of 16 Haji, and I've heard of Lambert, but I've also watched a lot of weird European CS at weird times. So, but like, there's definitely players in this team you've heard of. It's not like it's Sprout, which is the Favin show. So it's nice to see.
I've heard of all the players on Sprout. I just kind of wish it hadn't.
So yeah, all right. MIBR Renegades. I'm happy for the Renegades.
That was. Yeah. Again, I'm glad to see Renegades go through because I think they've got more about them than MIBR. I don't. Like I say, MIBR looked better than I thought they would, but we've seen all of these players before, and I just don't have any faith. There's so many good Brazilian teams that I would rather see than MIBR, whereas there aren't many better Australian teams, if any. And maybe Extreme.
Honestly, I'm not sure at this point whether Extreme is better or not.
I think they've actually been playing pretty well recently. I saw somebody talking about it, and they've actually been okay recently. So we'll see.
I think we need an Extreme Renegades show match, just that way we can know to end with who is the best.
Just invite them both to like some decent event, and we can,
Yeah, or it doesn't even need to be a decent event. Just invite them both to literally something where they can play with the same ping.
Yeah, sure.
That's all we ask for. Currently going on right now, Team Sprout, Team 1 versus Sprout.
Yeah, let's say Team 1 won the first map. That, as we're recording, ahead on map 2. But I mean, it can all change, obviously. I like Team 1, but I don't think they'll necessarily go really far. It's another one of the cases where they're one of the better teams. Like, there's actually quite a lot of teams in Brazil who are decent, but it feels like a lot of the talent is spread thinly.
Yeah.
So they could almost make like two really good teams, or maybe three good teams with including Furia.
Yeah.
But they seem to have like 4 or 5 like decent teams. Like Pain are really decent, Oplano are decent, Godsent are really decent. Like, and then they have like Team One who
MIBR,
have some talent. They've got
MIBR,
MIBR who have some
C1,
talent.
Furia. There's so many
There's,
Brazilian teams right
yeah,
now.
there's
But
actually just loads of decent ones where you could just make like if you took the best parts of Godsent and just put like Big Uzera and Safe on it. That would be a really good team. Like you kept Phelps, you kept Dumau, and maybe Bartin or something like that, and just put, you could just put any of the other like Big Uzera. I think is so good. Safe is an absolute like numbers machine. That guy just puts up like he puts up 30 bombs. Like most people put up like 10 kills. It's just
yeah,
the game is so easy for him in NA and South America. Like
yeah.
that guy's insane.
All right, and then EG against Vici. EG is currently
EG
winning.
smashing them. Yeah,
They should continue to win.
yeah. I say we talked about Vici earlier. I think it's almost a shame EG play them because then I still have no idea how good EG are, and I'm not going to have any idea once they beat Vici either. I think they play Mouse Sports if they win, so that should be fun. That the game is played tonight as we're recording. Hopefully tonight as this comes out.
Yeah,
So Mouse Sports EG is a banger. I think Mouse Sports should win, but
I
EG
agree.
just you sort of shrug. If EG win, you go, oh yeah, of course. Like, of course, Breezy's just dropped 50 kills. It's Breezy, but then like you can't actually expect that's going to happen.
I mean, at this point, can we really say, but that's just Breezy for that?
He had a good first map against Vici.
Okay.
That's it's good. I'm just maybe that's the thing. Maybe he just needs to like shit on Vici and then he'll be back. Like maybe he just needs that confidence boost. You know, when you're having a bad game, you get like an eco spray down. You're like, right, I'm back now. You look at the
Yeah.
scoreboard, you've got 3 more kills than you had the round before. You're like, yeah, I'm not doing that bad at all. And then you just like pop off. Maybe that's like Breezy, but on a wider scale. He's like eco fragging, but it's again his own gun rounds. It's just against an eco team.
All right. All right. Okay. So we've got 4 people who made it out of plans already. We've got Nip, we got Vitality, we've got Big, we've got FaZe. Who do we think that the next 4 making it out of plans is? Predictions.
I kind of think LDLC might beat Complexity. I think OG will beat Renegades. I think Spirit versus Team One is difficult for me because I like both of those teams, and Spirit have looked so unconvincing. But I have to think Mir and Dexter's just too much for Team One. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see how Maluki is going to out-orb Dexter. I'll put it that way. I just can't see that happening. I think both teams have they both play like Nuke and Dust 2 as well, and those like Spirit's 2 best maps, and I think Team One are quite keen to play those 2 maps. I think Spirit should win. That's assuming Team One beats Sprout. I think Spirit would smash Sprout as well. To be fair,
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so I think
I think Mouse will beat EG.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I can say for certain that we were both on the Mouse beat EG train like every day of the week.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna disagree with you. I think Spirit will beat whoever they're gonna play against. I think Renegades will beat OG though.
Ooh,
And Complexity will take LDLC.
We're both going for the one upset, but
yeah,
I don't know, man. I don't trust Complexity, but then they do tend to beat teams worse than them. It's just the bet.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you can't trust Complexity, but since you can't trust Complexity, you don't know what's going to happen there. So I'm going to my default, which is that Poison or Config is going to take that game over and just shut down the LDLC players.
I don't know. I kind of think there's something about LDLC from when I've seen them previously. I just kind of think they've. It feels like it might be like a mini breakout event for them. I mean, I could be completely wrong. They get smashed, but I think they're decent. So.
All right, let's talk about the actual IEM Cologne for like 30 seconds.
The what? Never heard of it.
So we know where some teams are going already. So Group A originally started as Gambit, Liquid, Virtus Pro, and G2, and to that we are adding Big and NIP. with 2 other teams that will be decided as the day goes on. Matches will be played for this group on Thursday. I should play for every group on Thursday.
This
But
is some hype opening matchups.
yeah, so the opening matchups we know of right now are Liquid against Nip and
That's
Virtus
such a
Pro
banger.
against Big. So here's the thing, right? Gambit's going to play somebody at the same time that Liquid's going to play Nip. It doesn't matter. You should watch the Liquid Nip game. Like,
I don't know. Like, this is a scenario where 2 monitors is absolutely necessary. Like, I think two monitors is necessary at most points.
always, yeah.
But this is like, you get to watch the best team in the world take on one of the teams you qualify. Any of the teams you qualify are going to be pretty good.
I mean, it could be Mouse Sports. I don't think it will be. I think the way,
if it's
the
Gambit
way
Mouse Sports, you're telling me you automatically watch Liquid Nip over that? Gambit Mouse Sports would be a banger.
Not. Like, let's be real here.
Okay,
so hold on, because the way that they've determined where teams are going is the every other one. So the top, if you look at the brackets, right, the first and the third team out of the brackets have gone to the Group A,
right,
and then 2 and 4 have gone to Group B. So if we follow that into the lower bracket, that means that the Gambit match should be the winner of Complexity LDLC. And then the team that plays G2 would be Spirit or Team 1, which we're saying Spirit.
So Spirit versus
G2.
Interesting.
This is all speculation. I'd like to make this very clear that we're guessing. They could switch it for the bottom bracket.
Spirit G2 would be fun as well, man.
I mean,
I know Gambit want to face G2. Was it Gambit? No, sorry. Virtus Pro want to face G2.
I believe that.
Yukanda said, because the last time they played, G2 smashed him, and Yukanda was like, yeah, no, I really want to play G2 because they smashed us last time and I want to get my revenge.
Yeah, so hold on. Let's pull back for a second. There's 4 teams that are going to be coming into the groups, right? There's 4 teams that don't have a match mate yet. Gambit, G2, Navi, and Heroic. So literally, Mouse Sports could play any of those.
If you're
it should be the game to watch.
Apparently, Heroic, one of their players, has contracted COVID, so they'll be playing from inside quarantine. So they're probably the team. If you're looking at getting one of those 4 teams, you're like, I'd rather play Heroic than the other 3 because they might have some sort of like, they're not in the same room. Maybe that's a slight advantage. But otherwise, you're thinking, right, if we qualify, we get Gambit, Navi, or G2 or Heroic. We might as well just not qualify. Obviously, you don't think that, but like, those are some really difficult matchups to sort of slip into.
Yeah, but like, here's the thing: it's not like if you're a team that is already qualified, you have any easier of a task, right? Furia, Astralis, Virtus Pro, and Liquid. It's not like those are any easier.
I'd rather play Astralis or Liquid than Gambit or Navi.
Unfortunately, I have to agree here.
I really wish it was. I mean, Liquid Nip is such a banger because it's Fallen versus Device.
Hold on, wait. Did Navi get a new logo?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay, doesn't matter. All right.
Yeah, like Liquid NIP is Fallen versus Device, but neither of them on the team that they're famous for playing for. It's really odd. Yeah, like saying Liquid versus Nip is Fallen. Like I actually just went and clicked on it to make sure I wasn't going insane. And yes, it is Fallen versus Device, and it's Liquid versus Nip. Doesn't make any sense.
It's gonna be great.
What a banger. VP Big is like maybe the least interesting matchup of the day.
So who comes out of these? So Group A, the first through third place teams. So the 2 teams in the upper finals, plus whoever wins the lower finals, is who's going to come out of these. All right.
Well, Gambit are going to be there.
Yeah, let's make some predictions. So Group A will have Gambit, Liquid, Nip, VP, Big, G2, and then we think Complexity / LDLC, and then Spirit.
Either Complexity or Spirit is going to lose to Gambit and fall to the lower bracket. And if you're in the lower bracket, you're probably going to have to beat Liquid or NIP as well.
Well, you will have to beat Liquid or NIP. That's how.
Yeah. So like, you kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Like, it's really difficult. And I love Team Spirit, and I want them to come through this if they're in this group. but it's going to be like you actually want to play G2 because then if you beat G2, you play VP or Big, which is infinitely more winnable than beating Gambit and or NIP.
Yeah. No,
Like that's like
I would say this is the group of death, but well, I'm not sure the other groups are worse.
they're both groups of death. It's IEM Cologne.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Although I do think
All
A
right.
is harder than B. I will say that.
So who do we think is making it out of this group? Let's say, theoretically say Complexity and Spirit are the two teams that.
I would say Gambit, NIP through the lower bracket, and G2. I think is the safe bet. But like, I think it's entirely possible that VP do as well, because I think VP will beat Big, and then VP versus G2 is kind of a coin flip. Like, I have no idea because VP are so inconsistent, and that they've been pretty vocal in saying that the RMR, like the terrible performance for them was like they've solved a lot of those issues now. They had a lot of internal issues, and they say they've solved a lot of them. So, like, if that's true, which obviously it could just be nonsense, but if that's true, then you kind of have to think that they might beat G2 because G2 are not infallible.
Yeah.
Even if
so I'm thinking Gambit, I'm thinking G2, and I'm thinking we're gonna see Liquid. But I might be wrong on the Liquid one, and it might very well be Nip, and I might just be being a little American biased.
What if it's just not Gambit? It's gonna throw
I think if it's not Gambit, I think everyone's going into just utter like shock. Like
I tweeted this the other day, but Shiro hasn't gone negative at an event since 2019, and the last event he went negative at was also the last LAN he played.
God no.
DreamHack Open Sevilla.
Basically, here's the thing. I think it's gonna be Gambit. I think it's gonna be G2. And I think it's gonna be someone from this Liquid Nip game. That's these are my guesses.
All right, I mean that seems like the obvious one. I don't think Liquid are better than NIP, and they're definitely better than Gambit.
See, I don't think they are either, and I totally agree with you on that. But something about Liquid playing on LAN again, man. I have vibes. I have vibes here.
I don't know. Liquid, ever since they lost Twist, just don't feel as magic to me.
I mean, yeah, he was literally nicknamed the Magician. It was great.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
It's a great nickname.
Group B. Na'Vi versus somebody. Furia against Vitality. Astralis against FaZe. And Heroic against somebody. I'm excited for the Astralis-FaZe matchup.
Furia always play Vitality, right? Like, I'm not going mad.
No.
Every tournament, they just play each other.
Yeah.
It's great. It's always fun because it's just like Furia insist on making the game chaos, and then it's like Zaiwu in the eye of a storm. It's always worth watching.
Yeah, I'm excited for this Astralis FaZe game though, because it's two team. Like Astralis is obviously not Astralis, but FaZe seem to be getting their stuff together. Maybe?
Yeah, FaZe are like not FaZe, and that's a good thing. Whereas Astralis are not Astralis, and that's a bad thing.
Bad thing. So
it's like which one is less of themselves?
Yeah, that could be an interesting match.
I think FaZe will win that. I really do. I think FaZe will win 2-0 as well. I don't think it'll be particularly close. They've looked really solid, and I really don't think Astralis are going to show a particularly good level at this tournament. Again, it could be they just decide all of a sudden they're just going to go mad because screw all the rumors. But
so just so we're aware, Na'Vi or Heroic either have to play OG/Renegades, because I'm not giving up on that Renegades one, or they have to play Mouse Sports in the first round. None of Na'Vi, which sounds like fun.
Please give me Na'Vi Mouse Sports. That's a banger.
That's a great match if that happens.
Because obviously Simple played for Mouse Sports before as well, right?
Yeah, he stood in for like 5 minutes, and his name was Complex instead of Simple.
Yeah, I mean that's. I don't know. Na'Vi Mouse Sports has so much talent on there. Like Mouse Sports are pretty stacked with like fraggers. Like they're not massive. Obviously, they're going to be somewhat tactical, but it's not like when you see Na'Vi versus who's a good example. Like you see Na'Vi versus like Big or something, where it's very structured, and it's just like Simple trying to take apart, Simple Electronic and Bit like trying to take apart a system. Whereas Mouse Sports versus Na'Vi is just like that's just going to be play after play after play, because it's Rops Frozen BMAS versus Bit Simple Electronic. Like it's all of these players just want to get multi kills. They don't care about anything else. It's going to be great.
by the way, I believe, yes, EG just 2-0'd Vici
Yeah.
to stay in the tournament. So we will have that going for us. That happened
It's,
as we expected, though.
so it's EG versus Mouse.
Yeah.
Bang.
So yeah, the way it's looking like right now. We have teams 1 through 11 in the group stages per HLTV rating, Liquid and FaZe, and we still have more joining.
Hell yeah.
This is gonna be exciting. This is a great tournament. All
This
right,
is a great
let's talk
tournament.
about not this tournament for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
We've got some stuff that we want to talk about in the execute, and it involves things. All right, we're moving some stuff. I'm moving some stuff around. All right. So the first thing we've got is stuff that happened last week, right after we finished recording the pod. NBK has retired from Counter Strike and moving over to Valorant.
Yeah.
Cool for him.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really besmirch. You can't begrudge him doing it.
Yeah,
Like
it's
he's kind of achieved pretty much everything you could want to achieve in CS. Like he, of course, he's just going to trade. He's going to change game now, and he's going to be. It's a new challenge. Like if he wanted to, like if a player was really good on one team and then left for another team to face a new challenge, like Device did, you go, yeah, fair enough. If somebody does it in a different game, like to me, that's also like, yeah, fair enough.
yeah.
Can't blame him.
The one that I think hurt you a little bit more was Kirby retiring.
Yeah, Kirby was like so young.
He's 23.
Yeah, he's like really young, and he's obviously he kind of achieved the best player at the major that he won when he was 18. So
Yeah.
I could sort of understand how you got burnt out so quickly. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like, well, when you have a couple of bad years, like I used to be this good and now I'm here, like I'm not sure I can be bothered to grind all the way back up. Like it doesn't seem to be working for me. So I can kind of understand how you would get that sort of fatigue, but it's such a shame because he's so damn good. At least I mean, from my perspective, his peak level is absolutely insane.
I
And
think he's good regardless. Like it's
yeah,
not like a you thing versus no. He's a good player. I think it's kind of weird to say he's not a good player. So with the Kirby thing,
it's
uh,
weird as well because people kind of assumed he would retire to go play Valorant, but
it just
he
looks like
he,
he's
he just
retiring.
said he's retired and hasn't said he's switching games. I mean, I've heard he has Valorant offers, as I imagine a lot of pro CS players do. Like he's apparently does have a lot of good Valorant offers, but he hasn't sort of said anything. I wonder if he's just delaying because he realized that if he was like, if he says immediately, "Yeah, I'm quitting CS:GO to go to Valorant," it'd be like it's almost too much in one go. I don't, or maybe he just genuinely hasn't decided yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there was also the screenshot that came out like a few days later that AZ's been grinding Valorant. So I do wonder if it's something that a lot of the players are considering.
So speaking of Kirby, the Hyenas tweeted out when Kirby left that this would not be the end of the Hyenas, that this wouldn't stop them, and then the next day tweeted that this was the end of the Hyenas, that this absolutely stopped them.
Yeah, I don't know why you would tweet that. Like, surely, I don't know. Maybe something changed in those 24 hours. Um, I have my suspicions. I know a couple of rumors about AZ. One of them is that he's going to retire and potentially switch to Valorant. Another one is that he has an offer to stay in CS. But I wonder if it was like they're going to stay together and then potentially AZ took one of these offers and they were like, yeah, this doesn't work. I believe Fessel's been standing in for it's one of the other Danish teams. He's been standing in for somebody, I believe, the last few days. So I think these players just had other offers, and they were like, "Yeah." It's a shame actually because Hyenas were actually playing half decent. They were pretty solid. Maybe not top 20 level, but then no chance weren't when they started. Like, there was an opportunity for them to go and do something, but with Kiebi leaving, and then if maybe that prompted the other players to take up some of the other offers they had. I don't know. We'll find out over the player break, I suppose.
Yeah. All right. Next topic of things that we need to speak about is Zonic has, according to an HLTV source, Zonic has thought about thinking about leaving Australis.
Well, yeah. I mean, my response was like, well, yeah. Like, otherwise he'd have just signed a contract. Like, of course he's thinking about leaving.
Yeah.
So the rumor I heard about Australis, and I can't necessarily justify this or say that it's true or not, is that they apparently were going to sign for another organization, but then Device left, and for whatever reason, it didn't go through. But as I say, it's only a rumor and one that I cannot back. But I think it makes sense. Like it seems to make too much sense. Like if they really wanted to stay, they'd have just signed a new contract. If Zonic wanted to stay, he'd have signed a new contract. Like, of course, he's thinking about leaving. Why would you not? Australis. It seems like the players had some issues with Australis. I believe like Thorin and Richard Lewis spoke. They wrote articles about this. How like, that they weren't happy with the organization. That's part of the reason they were taking like these breaks and stuff. Like that, if they didn't write about it, they alluded to it. And I think the players aren't necessarily happy with the organization and do want to leave, which is why they're not signing new contracts. Like it's so weird to me that people are like, "Oh my god, he wants to leave." It's like, yeah, no, it's not. Just,
of course,
it's not just like delaying on signing the contract for fun. Like, of course, he's thinking about leaving.
Yeah. I think the question is not more of like if he leaves, it's more of when he leaves, and when he leaves, where does he go? Does he stop doing Counter-Strike? Does he go and coach a different team? I mean, his services will obviously be requested by just about literally every team ever. I think that'll be a fun experience going through the Zonic coaching search. We got one more thing, and then we had a couple listener questions. Last I think it was last night. Last day. Golden was benched from Fnatic. They started to rebuild. There's a lot of stuff that might happen with Fnatic. I mean, I think you and I have heard about 17 different rumors. The first being like MHL.
MHL was rumored by a Polish writer yesterday, which is kind of weird because he's an AWPer, and like, I thought Jacquinho would probably stay, but it seems not. If that is true, I've also heard MSL and I've heard AZ. So again, I have no idea if either of those are true. I have no idea if any of these rumors are true. But Fnatic did say they're going somewhere else in the in-game leading department. MSL's available. Hasn't been streaming much recently. I kind of put two and two together as well. I was like, I sort of heard it a while back and I was a little bit doubtful, but it does kind of feel like that might be the case. It seems like there's a little bit of a dearth of Swedish talent at the moment. So going Danish kind of makes sense. I could see MSL going there, and I would like him to. I think it'd be fun.
All right. So just so we're all on the same page here, if Fnatic does make a move involving someone else, the player that would be dropping would be JW, correct?
I would assume so, but I don't know.
Okay.
I actually just don't know. I mean, maybe it's Jacquinho, JW stays, and they just bring MHL into AWP. I don't know.
All right.
It could even have been that wherever I heard it from, misheard MHL. You just don't know, do you? Like
maybe he heard MHL and went, "Nah, there's no player named MHL. Maybe he means MSL." There we go.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the guy who had MHL, it was actually MSL. It's like, oh, you mean MHL?
Yeah. There's a player with an M, some sort of.
He's an AWPer.
Some sort of constant and then an L.
Who knows? But yeah, the one thing that is sure is that Golden is benched.
Yes, we know that for a fact. All right, so we put out a very late call for listener mail questions. We're going to answer them. I've been asked who's next in the ring for me.
Yeah, because your name's Logan. Yeah,
yes,
but it's for anyone who isn't aware of Moose. He's the my favorite person on Twitter. He speaks. He's like a wall of conscience. He's great.
I think Jake Paul and Logan Paul should fight. That's my take on this.
That'd be pretty fun. I'd like to see Logan Paul fight like Loba.
Tyler won.
What about Richard Lewis? Didn't he choke slam somebody at Hell in the Cell or something? What's that? Copy pasta?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
There's like,
I think that scares me more.
I'm not going to get into it, but there's like a copy pasta about Richard Lewis choke slamming somebody through a table at Hell in the Cell. So maybe Richard Lewis, like, tell me you wouldn't watch Richard Lewis fight Logan Paul.
Oh, I absolutely would.
That would be great. And Richard Lewis would kill him as well.
All right. When are you good at CS? Never.
Like me specifically, or like when is one good? Because me, like, once a month probably, I'm good at CS.
I think my answer has to be never.
Never say never. Oh, if you mean specifically, like, you know, when you're the best in the world, and if you're not one of the best 10 players in the world, you're not good at Counter-Strike.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's how I see it.
Yep. And then our final question for the day: turkey or salmon?
Well, turkey, because I don't like seafood. I don't particularly like turkey either, for what it's worth.
Okay. But just not.
Yeah, okay. It's more like a real like food, so I'd say that.
All right.
It's really annoying. I said this to somebody the other day. Whenever you say like I don't like seafood, everyone goes, "Oh, what? Not even like lobster?" Like, no, I don't like seafood. Not even like mackerel. No, I don't like seafood. But if you try it, always, I don't like seafood. Like, stop naming seafoods. No, I don't like them.
All right. That's gonna be it from us this week. We're gonna see you all again next week for Cologne wrap up ish. Yeah, you're going to see us again next week for Cologne group stage wrap-up and looking at playoffs. You'll see us the week after for playoffs, and then we'll be in and out for the player break. But yeah, remember to follow us on Twitter at Logan Ramhap, at Aizyesque, and at RaidTLDR. And we'll see us again next week.
Oh, yeah.